So I haven't done a video in about a week, and I haven't been feeling that good emotionally. I've been in some conflict and not really handling myself very well, and I let a lot of things build up over time and just wasn't expressing myself throughout, even though I can talk to myself for hours and hours sometimes. I'm not the greatest at talking to others in terms of setting up certain boundaries. It could be my training as a peer, just wanting to be open and accepting of everything, especially considering that I have needed that from people at times. And a lot of different factors, but I'm learning about that. I don't feel happy. I had those couple of good days, and then I was taking some notes and stuff, and then I just haven't had a good week at all. And I think I'm really missing my family and my community, and I'm not feeling lonely. I don't know how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like maybe I'd rather be with my family and my community than in California. When before I left, I was thinking, I think I'd rather be in California than with my family and community. And it could just be that I've maxed myself out. But it's not just that, because I've been struggling here because of what I was talking about before, having that mini crisis and having to take Seroquel. So many of the days here, I've just been going through like a zombie, and that's not how I thought I would have to go through my days here. I thought I would have at least 6 months until my next crisis, and it was a total of something like a month. And then I was taking Seroquel, and then I went to LA and did ECPR, and so I started trying to take less Seroquel. And then it was hard to get off the Seroquel. I went from full to half to trying to go off the Seroquel completely. And the Hardy Nutritionals people said those were too big of jumps. But now I've been on Seroquel. I'm taking a quarter now. So that would be 7.5 milligrams, but I've been taking it going on 2 months, and I think just the totality of everything, taking the Seroquel for 2 months, having that crisis and having to go through much of it by myself and just drug myself through it, and now doing the Hardy Nutritionals thing, which I'm guessing is going to make me feel in different ways at different times. And some stuff's gonna want to come out perhaps that has just been kept at bay by the medications. And also I'm used to interacting with people in the mental health community where there's a lot of understanding and care and all these different things, whereas right now I'm in the real world, which doesn't necessarily have that context. And so instead of operating within and amongst that context and with people who understand that and who are going through similar things, so there's this mutual support by virtue of just going through it and not even really having to say things and explain it. I feel like I almost have to explain myself somewhat. not totally. I feel like I understand that I'm not in that context, so I have to be more wary because I could be misunderstood, or I don't know. It's hard to explain. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but and just not having people that know me, where other people back home know me, and I don't have to feel like I feel kind of like things that I do could easily have more points against me than for me or something. Whereas in my community, I feel like there's little chance of things going wrong, and if they do, it's not really going to affect anything because I've been there quite a long time. People know me. I've supported people. People have supported me. It's just very reciprocal and mutual. And I find just in talking to myself now, I'm speaking a lot of the language of peer support. And so I like the way that kind of community is set up. I feel like here some people know about my diagnosis and label. So if I do struggle and voice things, then they could be interpreted as something to do with my label because they don't know me enough to know. And nothing terrible has happened. It's more, I'm just struggling in the scenario I'm in now. And it's one thing to struggle, but it's another thing to struggle for 2 months and feel like, well, maybe this struggle would be less if I was at home. If I would have known that I would have needed to take Seroquel while I was down here, I don't think I would have come down here. I was planning on just bringing a couple of Seroquels just in case, because I really didn't think anything was going to happen, but I brought a whole bottle and I've had to take it every day for the last 2 months. And so it's been somewhat of a struggle on my own, dealing with these things, having to pretend that I'm doing better than I am around others, and just go about what I need to do in a day. And I think it's just the time is just feeling like I want to go home, and I feel like maybe I should. I wanted to stay down here because there's another course I want to take in July. But I don't know. And I really wish I had a car down here. It's difficult to get around, and I haven't done a reduction in my meds for a while. So I will talk to Hardy Nutritionals on Monday, I hope, and maybe they'll say to go down in my medications because I've been bleeding in between menstrual cycles, and that might be too much information, but that pretty much has never happened. And I wonder if it has something to do with the micronutrients and balancing hormones or something like that. So I only say that because I could be kind of hormonal when I'm not supposed to be or something. I just feel disorganized and disorientated and not knowing what I should be doing, and kind of like not in a good healthy routine, and I'm tired of not having any money to have healthy food. I feel like there's no point in trying to be kind of healthy. Maybe there is, but I'd rather just be not healthy and save money than sort of kind of be healthy-ish and spend more money. And I don't know what I'm saying, but next week I'm going to try to do some more rollerblading, and hopefully if they say go down a quarter of a dose on my medications, maybe that'll help somewhat. Maybe I'll ask if I should take more of their supplement. I don't really care what it takes. If it takes taking more to jumpstart my brain, then that's what it takes. And I'll see if maybe I should go down to 1/8 of a Seroquel. But one thing's for sure, when I'm in a place of some anger and some sadness and some grief, and my mind is occupied with avoidance strategies and so many things, it's definitely not in insight. There's no insight, there's no beauty. It's just self-preservation and self-protection. I guess I would like to leave California on a positive note, and better than when I got here, not necessarily worse. Right now, I've probably gained 10 or 15 pounds, and I'm feeling more like keeping to myself than being social. And so I was wondering before I came here if just being outside the mental health paradigm would help in terms of being able to transcend it. And I'm not sure if that's true or not. I feel like that's my community. I went through those experiences and I can't change that. And so how can I utilize them? And I'm glad I watched that Steve Pavlina video about how he said when you get criticism or something, you can just not reply, or you can reply with a smiley face or whatever you want. Because I didn't reply to that email that upset me a couple weeks ago, and time in my day decided by others in terms of my activities. And I'm learning that just being here, because some of my day is somewhat structured, and I don't mind it actually, but I'm seeing what things in my life I don't like controlled, like food. There's some parts of the food process here. It kind of reminds me of being in a psych ward. And so before I might have thought, oh, person, so it's hard for me to think and abstract and conceptualize and plan what I would want to eat for the week. And actually when I was back home, I was pretty much for dinner and maybe a little snack during the day. And so it wasn't super healthy, but it also I wasn't eating a lot, and I was staying slender and I was also doing quite a bit of self-dialogue, so I was feeling here I find it difficult to find a place to do self-dialogue that there's any privacy besides my room, unless I was just out talking to myself and not really caring if anyone saw. And that might be the case, but I have my notebook and stuff, so it looks kind of silly or awkward to be looking at a notebook and then looking at a phone. And also it's really hot, and being outside, it sort of makes the phone really hot and the battery die really quickly, and there's other variables. So I don't know what I'll decide to do, but I feel like if I don't get myself together, I might just somehow sabotage the rest of my time here, because I am supposed to stay for 6 months. It was sort of a 6-month commitment. Instead of a commitment to a psych ward, it's a 6-month commitment. And it's actually quite difficult as a person commit to something for 6 months and do different stuff and blah 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 blah, especially when I've been struggling and having to take extra meds, and in certain jobs I've had, I would be able to take time off, or I think I've talked about how anytime I've had to take Seroquel, I usually am off work those days. If I'm working in peer support, I take the time off. If I had my medical office job, I took time off. Actually, the whole time I worked there, I was fine, and I think because it was so happy and social and fun. So there's something about balancing this fun thing and I'm not sure. But if I really have to go back, I will go back. I guess I can't expect it to be roses coming off psych meds. I actually saw a web page for a new respite center or home or homes that are going to be opening in San Francisco called Gnosis something. And apparently Gnosis means knowing with the heart. It's Gnosis retreat centers. And Dr. Michael Cornwall is involved in the project, as well as a bunch of people who worked under R.D. Laing when he was alive. And so the centers and the homes, they're based on the work of R.D. Laing. And I've read R.D. Laing's book, The Politics of Experience, and it's total genius. I started reading it again so I could highlight sections because I figured out how to do that. So hopefully I will get it together, and hopefully I will at least get somewhat back into self-dialogue, because it could help a little bit. And even if I don't get that much self-dialogue in, it's good to do a video and talk about some of the more difficult days too, because there will be difficult days in this process of coming off these meds. And I'm wanting to document some of that. I want ice cream.